Recorded Books and RB Digital present The Lake and the Lost Girl by Jacquelyn Vincenta. Narrated by Christina Moore. Prologue. White Hill, Michigan, October 1939. From Sacred Emily by Gertrude Stein, 1874 to 1946. Put something down. Put something down someday. Put something down someday in. Put something down someday in my hand. In my hand write. In my handwriting. Put something down someday in my handwriting. Mary Walker crouched against the attic wall, waiting. 2 floors below, her husband hurled an axe into logs stacked near the wood stove, and she could hear chunks of wood clatter against the walls and floor as he cursed her. The fire was cold. There was no supper prepared, and she'd brought her coat up into the attic with her so that he would believe she was out. But hidden upstairs, her body was attuned to his every motion and his exact location in the house. Eventually he would leave. He would leave either to go looking for her or to get drunk and forget about her. She just had to wait. Patience was so difficult for her. But she was just hours from freedom now. She and Robert would depart tonight. Tonight. She clutched the 2 small bags she had packed for the crossing to Chicago on the Fata Morgana. If all was going as planned, Robert was waiting for her this very minute, just half a mile away in the Lake Michigan Channel. In recent weeks, Bernard's fits of fury had intensified, almost as if he sensed Mary's intention to leave him. And his rage about her inability to conceive a child made it clear what she was to him, and that he would never truly support the woman and the poet she had been before they married. She had no doubt about the importance of getting away from him. But in this moment, when she was finally packed and ready to make this cold water crossing, the lake's violence and the unsettling purple sky made Mary afraid. Pulling her gaze from the round window beneath the attic's peak, she turned to the sewing box in her lap, for it had always comforted her. A loose knob jiggled, just as it had when her mother owned the box, and a quilted lining held needles and pins purchased before she was born. She had loosened a few tacks in the lining so that she could hide the special needle, and she reached in with one finger. Yes, it was still there, the needle that had nothing to do with sewing. She tucked it deeper, yearning for the relief of her medicine. Up against it, she slid a folded poem that no one would read until she was far from this White Hill life. In Chicago, she would be a different woman. She would use another name to publish her poetry, and thousands of people would read every line. But until then, she had to hide the most dangerous words. "If you think you can make a fool of me, Mary Walker," Bernard roared to no one, "you haven't learned a goddamn thing." Her heart stuttered at the heavy thud of something being thrown to the floor, and she shrank closer to the wall, her hands clutching the sewing box more tightly. Bernard knew how she cherished it, and if she left it here, he would smash it apart. She stared into the box at the threads and buttons, running her fingers lightly over their gentle shapes. No, she wouldn't leave it behind. She must take it. The truth was, she'd need something like this in her new life. She'd need precisely this. With no furniture of her own, with nothing of home, she might really go mad. Part of her could live in this box. The small window's frame rattled in a blast of wind, and she leaned over to look out, hollow with fear. The night sky was starless and black. It was past time to go. God help her if the storm raged too long. Once they pushed off into that cold lake, she could never return to White Hill. At last, the front door slammed, and seconds later,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?